We are back. Finally.
Finally.
Finally. Sorry about
Let's
that.
tell this something, right? For the past few weeks, we have been getting so much of trouble to film.
Mm-hmm.
Some people just busy and have things to do and just not ready to film. Other people, they just didn't want to film whatsoever. So it's like they keep canceling and canceling and canceling.
Oh, no,
Why are you
Other
pointing
people-
fingers at us only?
I am literally not pointing anything.
Oh, no, who does it?
Literally not pointing anything.
You're pointing your hand.
Whatsoever. I just move in my hand because hand gestures are important. So you just like how the traffic lights go so and the other go so, indications. So some people just didn't want to film and all these different sort of things. So we are very much sorry. We apologize. And we just want to kickstart this episode with kind of fun vibes, energetic
Don't
vibes.
forget the fact that some persons just did not show up for classes on some days and we could have actually filmed. But yeah, say no more.
Alright, cool. So, I guess we're putting our business there to know the kind of co-stars and co-members that I have. So it's a very good thing. So today we're going to be talking about speech, how we just talk to people. Can you say whatever you want unfiltered? Should there be a cap on some people when they're saying things unfiltered? Should some people, certain categories of people, be allowed the opportunity to, how to say?
That categories of people.
Yeah, categories of people.
When you say categories, what do you mean by
Specific types of people, like politicians, businessmen, ordinary citizens.
Okay, so like professions.
Yeah, different categories of people. I should say profession.
Yeah.
Alright, that makes sense. Should they be able to set a certain standard for society in terms of speech and how we talk to other people? All of these things will be discussed in our very third episode of the AWS show. Welcome back. So today we are talking about freedom of speech and the lack thereof. Okay? If it is that your
Freedom of speech don't mean you can talk about people constantly. Yeah. Let me establish that.
My speech is free.
but even if it's free, it have a certain cost attached to it, Yeah, cost attached to it.
Cost.
Cost attached to it.
Very sure.
Because they can't hear probably in deaf. So like your freedom.
But let me get to the
Anyhow. So we're gonna be talking about some stuff that would have happened before. I know you all have missed us for like over a month now. So carnival, prime ministerial stuff, country stuff, worldwide stuff happening. So let me just give you all a brief overview of our carnival. All the carnival.
I was home.
A lot of fetes.
I was home, literally home.
Literally home.
Literally home, yeah.
You was home? But it's not carnival people. You know me. I really wanted to get involved in a certain carnival. Like carnival, because it's interesting. Not necessarily like the partying and the not like the jump up part on the money and Tuesday, but there's like the cultural aspect, like the Damarain and the extempo, calypso, them kind of thing, I find them thing real interesting and cool. Yeah, so
I just like how that's something repetitive. I just love how young people, they're getting involved. Like young brother, for example, he would have he sang at the Calypso competition.
right. Yeah.
That was good. That was
Getting involved in
nice. So it's good to see like young persons just being more involved with the cultural aspect of carnival, because as you know, young brother is dancehall. Right. So yeah, that's nice.
But no, it showed his diversity as an artist. And like if you listen to this song, it's actually really powerful. Like the words of it actually touched.
He came third.
It touched, yeah?
Yeah. The words was very
It's
powerful.
third, I think he
He
came
came
third.
second in one of the competitions.
I'm not sure.
I think one of the, because I think Marshall won first or something, so and then he came second.
I don't know how much.
I was so champion or something so. And the Calypso match, I think I first.
Oh, I think I came second in Calypso competition.
And that's second go to.
Something so. So yeah, so that is carnival. We do our brief. That is like I call it was that carnival episode. That was the brief carnival episode. So that is that. So moving on to like world events, of course, it have like Trump and his tariffs against the United States, against Mexico, Canada, and Mexico, Canada, and China. So those are the three countries that he have tariffs against. And so moving all the way along, so politics in Trinidad and Tobago, right? So far, we have a new Prime Minister, the Honorable Stuart Young, SC, Senior Counsel. So you can give a round of applause. Yeah.
I just hate to say
talk about a highly not many people.
No, a lot of people think that.
Who?
A lot of people. You don't be on social media and stuff.
That's social media. Social media.
Well, see now
A
you
lot
have
of people in
voice.
society they don't like that.
Alright.
Social media, propaganda.
Yeah. So I just
Two
you know
different
calling
things.
what's going on in society right now.
Okay.
And I say that I have
So
no
that
one
was society saying.
okay.
You don't realize what they say in Mars?
I mean, some persons.
Some of them.
Some persons. But a lot of the things are propaganda. As we know on social media, persons just get paid to write comments and all these kind of things. So like,
Alright, cool. Video? What video?
But the post or whatever, he was bullying some.
Oh, the post. I saw what.
33 years. 33
years.
33 years when some get to.
33
No, but you
years.
see.
Like, how you can discredit somebody with 33?
No, but my thing is this, right? The Honorable Stuart Young has been in politics for over what? 15, 20 years? So how it is that statement or that issue is now being resurfaced or now being surfaced
They should
in
have
the
been
media?
it up a long time,
You know?
because at the end of the day, this is what people don't understand, right? And there is go off of, this person is the prime minister, this person is doing this, this person is doing that. News flash, we elect our MPs. The MPs now hold a particular responsibility towards their constituents and towards their constituency, right? So when persons are saying, well, the prime minister this and the prime minister that, the prime minister is not a one-man show. The government is not a one-man show. So I think it's about time persons start to hold their MPs and their councillors accountable for what is going on in their area. Now, nobody is saying, no, the prime minister don't have a certain responsibility over his government and so forth. But at the end of the day, people, we have persons to represent us in our constituencies. You can hold them accountable, same way.
Exactly, and that is really the entire point of an election. So in Trinidad and Tobago, our general elections are taking place next month, at the end of next month, April 28th. So go out and cast your vote. And the entire point of our elections and MPs and councillors and all these different things is the ability of the people to have their say. In other words, freedom of speech.
This is the first time we will have the ability to vote in general election.
Yes.
Yeah.
But
This is our first time here. Even though you would have already voted in local elections.
Local elections.
Well, look at that. Very unpatriotic. So yeah, that kind of segues into our topic today, which is freedom of speech. And we, as the AWS show, seeing that we are law students, we are going to try and help you all understand what it means to really have freedom of speech in Trinidad and Tobago. So our starting point is really the Constitutional Republic of Trinidad and Tobago. I will show a picture. I'll probably answer that picture right there. Right? So the Constitution of Trinidad and Tobago is like our supreme law. That is where we really derive. That is where all the laws of Trinidad and Tobago derive from. So the basis is that there is no other law that supersedes the Constitution. So in the Constitution itself, there are rights enshrined, right?
Section 4.
So Section 4, as Amaris rightfully pointed out, is our rights section. So that way, that is where you get the freedom of movement, freedom of association, we will call it, freedom of speech, freedom of
right of vote, freedom of expression, freedom of religion.
Yeah.
Any other
I'm
freedom?
good with that stuff. I'm good with only rights. Only rights is good.
Yeah, so
It's basically like general human rights.
general human rights, right? So ideally, some people get the impression, well, I have my freedoms, I have my freedom of speech. That does often be interpreted as you have the ability to say any and anything that you can. And that is simply not true. There are certain statements and there are certain things, especially the manner in which, so if it is how you post on social media, in like newspapers, or even like a public forum, it could be considered as
slander
or right. But the general overarching term, that's already what I was going to say. I already wanted to say that it could be considered defamation if it is that you say negative things or things that are not true about somebody.
That can degrade their character.
That could degrade their character. And that is what we're actually going to get into right now. So even though you have your freedom of speech and you have things to say, or you can say things to a person, it doesn't mean that you can say it unequivocally without any sort of ramifications or repercussions.
Yeah.
So let's kind of get into it a little bit, right? I cannot go and say, like these are my co-stars, for example. I cannot go and say that my co-stars are illegal immigrants working in Trinidad and Tobago and receiving profits from the AWS show. I cannot go out and say that. Why? Because number one, it's untrue. Number two, it is going against their character as human beings because they are not illegal immigrants, I think.
I have my good paper,
And I would hope and I would hope as well that they're not receiving money from the AWS show without my knowledge. I hope so. Because if they do, it's me and them. So yeah, so that is basically slander statement. So I'm going to actually break down what defamation is, what is slander, what is libel. So I'm going to actually consult my co-stars. What do you think is defamation? This is year one.
Defamation is a general definition.
Definitely.
I think there are elements to it. From what I can remember, it's an untrue statement of fact that is either expressed in writing or in words. In writing or in expressed like words speaking. That could, as we see, degrade the character.
What about you?
So I let you talk first. I would say defamation for like layman on the street. I would say it is someone using words or certain comments or statements to defame, slander another person's character or personality.
That's really true. So ideally, defamation is basically what they would have mentioned, right? So there are certain elements of defamation, or rather there are certain characteristics that would classify as defamation. So one of the main important things is that there's a publication of a false statement.
Yes.
The statements that is saying have to be false. So the same thing that I would have said, that they are illegal immigrants and they siphoning money from the AWS show, I hope that last part is untrue. But it's a false statement. It is not true. Right? And that negatively impairs or impacts upon the person's reputation. Now, all of us, we have our name, especially in law, our name, our image, and our personality are important. When you hear Wesley Museo, you want to think about upstanding character. When you hear Amarisky, you want to think about reputable individual. So, hopefully. So, when you hear Stevenson say that you want to hear good character, deep voice, important to society. You want to make sure. Those things are true. So you want to make sure that the statements being made are actually true. If it is false, that could almost classify as a defamatory statement, right? And that statement, in the eyes of the public, cause members to shun them. So if that false statement that I would have said injures their reputation and injures their personality and who they are, they could actually, and also causes people in society to take measures to shun them, that could classify as a defamatory statement. Now, the defamation could be broken up into two things. Hopefully, the editor will edit it. This is libel, this is slander.
I think the editor that
To fire the editor. So libel is a form of defamation that is in a permanent form. So permanent meaning if you write it in like a newspaper, or if you write it in like a journal, a book, or anything of that sort, that could be defamation, or that could be libel or libelous. Other hand is slander. Slander obviously is the opposite. It is not done in a permanent form. So it could be on social media, it could be on by mouth, it could be by any sort of different things, right? Now the key question.
You road and you say, no, you know what? I wouldn't say that.
So the key question to all of this, right, is why would they have situations or why would they have laws in place to prevent from yapping too much?
From yapping too much.
I think so. These laws would be in place to protect an individual's integrity, to protect certain, how do I put it, like professions and careers, for example, because you wouldn't like someone to come and say, well, so you, for example, right? Let me say you become some big lawyer or big politician, right? A big politician out there. Minister of National Security, for example. Right? So, as Minister of National Security, for someone to write in a newspaper article, for instance, and say, well, Minister of National Security, Stevenson Senate, seen on Trinidad and Tobago's border, smuggling illegal weapons and ammunition. Now you as Minister of National Security could actually take action against that person because one, no evidence was provided. Two, where is the pictures? Where is the phone records saying, you know, well, we meeting by so to bring in this and bring in that. So you could now bring an action against the individual who may have written that journal, well, article, the article.
I might ever smuggle anything. Smuggle anything. Where is smuggle?
What, how?
Why she gave me all the details. She gave me all the details.
That was the details.
Yeah, the inside. But no, yes. What people fail to realize is that your rights can't be limited. It's not like I can do what I want, I can say what I want, and I can live what I want. Your rights are limited. That is for good measures.
Exactly, and that is the thing where I kind of get into, right? So even in public, I think we all know and should know by now that cursing in public is an offense.
Correct, is right.
I was speaking to my best friend here, and you know who?
Yeah.
Right. And we was arguing, you know, but we was playing the fool because, you know, he's becoming a police or whatever. I don't know I'm going to here, but right. So we was arguing because like, I don't know, you can't arrest me for certain things. I can work around the law, whatever. So he's like, you cussing me stuff, but you can't cuss me outside, you can't do cuss me in private, cuss me in public, like you see what I'm going. I said, no, I can do what I want, I have freedom of speech. And we was arguing about these same things.
So this is the actual section, right? So this is from the Summary Offences Act, section 49. So it's saying any person making
We tell him about his handwriting, you know. It's his handwriting, you know.
Anyhow, any person making use of insulting, annoying, or violent language with intent to, or which might tend to provoke any other person to commit a breach of the peace, or to the annoyance of any resident in person or in public, is liable to a fine of $200, $200, or $30 of imprisonment. 30 days of imprisonment.
30 days.
Right? So if it is that you are found caught in public, cursing another person, being annoying, well, causing the annoyance.
No, that
The main
annoyance
thing
is crazy.
No, the main thing is that you're causing a breach of the peace,
Yeah.
right, in public.
Oh, well, nowadays it was like a reasonable like measure for that. Because to say annoyance and breaching the peace was just annoyance, what could be classified as?
No, well, they actually say insulting or violent language with the intent to, or might tend to provoke or any person to commit a breach of the peace. So that is the extent of the section 49, right? And then, of course, in section 8 of the Libel and Slander Defamation Act, Libel and Defamation Act, section 8, if any person maliciously publishes any defamatory libel, knowing the same to be false, he is liable on conviction to imprisonment for 2 years and may pay such fine as the court decides. So that is the extent of the law when it comes to defamation and the words in which you say in public. It is an offense. Curse in public. Do not curse in public. I always find it weird when people just be cursing in public, just irate. Yeah. Just the other day, I was walking in police and these two market vendors cussing each other.
No, that's really bad.
Yeah, that's big craziness. And honestly speaking, when I hear persons like consistently cursing and stuff, I just be like, that person have a limited vocabulary.
You know, I disagree.
Because there are, you can say things in so many different ways without cursing.
I really disagree with that. I find as though that people just have this negative idea or like this negative concoction in the mind of a person who does cuss is like a person with limited vocabulary.
No,
because
but
even if I want to express my frustration,
I understand.
I
understand, but you cannot tell me. I'm talking about a person who constantly cursing. Every sentence had to be some sort of curse. Every day had a life they cursing. Everything, the home they cursing, the out they cursing. It's like they can't control themselves. It's like an addiction. They need to be cursing for bad things. That's what I'm talking about. It's like, oh gosh, bro.
I can understand that, but I don't want to say my defense to that, but like my counter to that is.
Huh? You just kiss?
No.
Are you real defender kiss?
Yeah, boy.
I mean, I just kiss every so often.
So often.
You know, and it's just this like
once in a while.
Like a holy water, like a pit.
Not too
and
much.
Too much.
Miles, I find you real on my case about kissing.
No, I'm not on your case, but like, you know, I
find you are real asking me question about kissing as well. Just to make it known that this is a true statement. My co-stars do engage in the art of.
What are you talking about? Something wrong. You lost money.
Is it that you're trying to say that you're do not?
You want us to sue you right now for defamation? So are you trying to tarnish?
No.
You forget you are on the media right now.
Question is
just as you are on this AWS show, you have to watch what you are saying.
I know. Right.
And it is false. But I don't think you are. I don't think it is a false statement.
Yes, it is.
I don't think you're presenting it in a manner that will be great out.
So
we wouldn't sue you.
But good. Right? The entire point I'm teaching the audience how to present.
I'll tell you properly.
So you want to get catch with defamation. And about defamation, what you have to understand is that even though you want to say something about somebody, you have to be a little bit creative.
Yes.
Now, I'm not trying to teach you how to break the law.
That's what he's doing.
I'm not teaching you how to bend the situation. But you have to understand and realize, especially on social media, the words in which you say or how you say something can be misinterpreted and it can be interpreted in different ways. So you need to choose your words precisely and intentionally.
Yeah, you know, some people has been like, I am unapologetically me. Like, you could be unapologetically you, but know that your rights are limits. Yeah, just know that.
And even if you have to understand as well that you cannot say what you want and how you want it. That's why it have limitations. So that limitations of your freedom of speech in the Constitution is limited by the fact that there's defamation and there's libel and slander, right? So I kind of want to turn on to our next thing, right? You all feel as though that certain people have certain privileges when it comes to talking freely, that defamation will not apply whatsoever. It depends
Yeah.
on how.
So as we learn persons in parliament.
We can't hear.
I said so as we learned in
Parliament.
yes, so persons in parliament.
You know what's so crazy? Because we going on and on about I have an English, I want an English, and you don't even know the correct.
I just go about I don't know what to say. I have a what an English.
Nah, he really doesn't do that.
Like, what you
He
trying
really doesn't do that.
Like, you could
He really doesn't do that because it's not like
Well, at least to me, I don't know.
you lost money. Anyhow, what were you saying? Right, so there are persons, and you see, you didn't even know what I was talking about. I was saying thought, we did it, thought. I wasn't asking about our word. Come, right, anyhow. Right, so.
For the record, I am not a clown. So
you see, that's how you can say certain things. Anyhow, right. Back to
go ahead.
right. So there are certain individuals, of course, that defamation would not apply at certain circumstances for certain reasons. So we have those members of parliament, once they're within parliament, so like in a parliamentary setting.
Setting,
Whatever. Right? Good was good word.
Not really, but go ahead.
They would have something called privilege.
I wonder.
Is it absolute privilege or qualified? I can't
It's a
remember.
law student, you know, it is absolute.
Absolute, right? So they would have absolute privilege.
Mhm.
And then there are
So why do they have absolute privilege?
okay, so let me explain what's absolute privilege.
Yeah, explain it.
Right. We haven't even done it.
I mean, I know about
Trying to
it.
come here on this point, but anyhow. So within a parliamentary setting, it doesn't matter because it could be in a setting.
Alright,
They come
alright.
together to discuss issues and move
Okay.
issues. So in that setting, right, they have the ability to say so because within that setting, you need to have a level of freedom of expression to say what you want and to get points across and that kind of thing, and not to always be in the back of your mind of what can I say this, can I not say this. So they give them the opportunity to be able to speak freely within parliament. So that is why in some instances you would hear certain parliamentarians say that to my outside now. Tell them around the street, let me see what will happen. And that is why most parliamentarians that is why most parliamentarians just begin on battles in parliament. Because they know they can. Some of them might see it as good, but they can.
However, don't take away the fact. Now you have to Google this. That there are standing orders for both the Senate and the House of Representatives that the members must abide by.
Yes.
Otherwise, Madam Speaker,
So
the president of the Senate could tell them,
to retract
leave
that
the-
statement.
Yeah.
to take it back, or if it persists, basically to leave the chamber.
Yeah, to leave.
To leave the chamber.
And
So while they may have a level of absolute privilege, there are certain standing orders, rules of the house.
So you see, as well, even in that situation, absolute privilege or the absolute privilege of speech is
It's
still
limited.
limited. Because you still have to abide by the house rules and there are certain regulations that you must follow in order for you to speak freely. Right? So that is one type, absolute privilege in a parliamentary setting. Anybody else could have known the second type?
What's it?
So the second one is qualified privilege.
Yeah.
Remember? So qualified privilege, if I remember correctly, if Mr. Mark was
Oh,
teaching,
sure, if you watch this one.
Oh,
We mean, if you teach your
I
right,
know what to say now. You
Don't
should
be
say
disrespecting
you
my lecture,
remember.
hello. If you remember,
Oh,
you
you
just
know
talk
you teach
properly.
you
You
correctly.
just talk well.
if I remember correctly. So qualified privilege is attached to journalists. So the important aspect about journalists is that they have the ability to educate the public, right? They have the ability to say certain things for educational purposes, for informational purposes, and ideally just to report on the circumstances that are happening within society. I was always find it funny when journalists do the on the ground thing, where they like go to actual people and get a like responses like what
Yeah.
I just find that funny because there's actually a quote everything I put in the paper, and sometimes what people saying is just real unfiltered. So it's kind of like blanket and bucket. So yeah. But anyhow, when it comes to the newspapers and the houses, they have to ensure that what they're saying is not defamatory. Because again, even though they have the ability to type and print stories about certain things, it can still be used against them in court of law if it is that what their story injures the image or reputation of somebody in society. Right? So that is really it. If I remember, is there another one?
But what I was gonna add too, as it relates to the whole surrounding freedom of speech and people thinking they could say whatever they want and get away with it and so forth. So you have this like short post you could like watch it on YouTube as well about Chris Gayle, right? Chris Gayle, a cricketer. Now he was playing for this Australian team and well during a match or whatever, well, he was on the sidelines. He had an interview with a reporter. And within the interview now, he was like, he liked her eyes and basically asking her out on a date. And he told her, like, don't blush, baby. Yeah, he told her that. And the league he was playing for, they were like, that could be considered as sexual harassment and so forth. And he was actually fined 10,000 Australian dollars. And he had to publicly apologize for his statement. Right? Now that's in the Australian setting and with their league. The whole thing it would be responded to the same way here in Trinidad and Tobago or in the Caribbean region.
Well, yeah, because wait, hold on. We're asking exactly. Is it
like his statement in the interview?
Okay. Well, nah, it wouldn't really apply like that. No, it do have some people.
Do our laws allow for it?
No, but my thing is this, right? How we communicate in the Caribbean is vastly different than how our
Generally,
let me rephrase.
How
Just conversations, how conversations go in the Caribbean will obviously be and have different meanings and interpretations in a Caribbean setting as opposed to an Australian setting. So I kind of have a compliment like that. Sorry, or a statement. Let me rephrase. So a statement like that made to, let's say, a female reporter in a Caribbean context may not have had that serious legal repercussion as it did in the Australian setting. Because again, it's the way in which we communicate. So it's like, it is a bit tricky because even if you make a statement like that, so for example, so how he made the statement and it actually probably went to court and all these sort of different things, there are mechanisms that prevent people from going that straight route to legal ramification. So even if he made that statement and the person that he made the statement again becomes aware of the statement, and let's say the person who became aware of the statement issues a pre-action protocol letter, basically that person could ask the publisher of this defamatory statement to retract it or apologize for the said statement. So yeah. But this is the thing about it, right? So even in Trinidad and Tobago, you could pay a hefty fine. So if you're think 10,000 Australian dollars is nothing, here these kind of numbers I got. 25,000, 450,000, $1 million. These are the kind of prices that you can pay if it is that you are found liable for defamation. So I want to kind of list some local examples, right? So just recently, there's a case where the Minister of Finance, Imbert, and Philip Edward Alexander, right? So Philip Edward Alexander alleged that Minister Imbert purchased exotic Swedish sports car for US $2 million by abusing his office as minister, right? Now, of course, that statement was, I don't know if you all know who Philip Edward Alexander is, but he's a person who is very eccentric in the way that he presents and communicates online. So I'm pretty sure he would have made that statement without any sort of backing, evidential backing, and the court would have found in favor of Minister Imbert. There was also another situation where a UTT president and a UTT professor, where the professor claimed that the president embellished his resume and misappropriated funds and engaged in plagiarism. Now, a statement like that could really injure somebody's personality, especially in, you see, when it comes to like university papers and all, I'm not sure if you would know, but anytime you hear the word plagiarism, you should automatically think to yourself, or you should automatically quake in your boots, because when it comes to plagiarism, it's a very serious thing. It is not only just a serious academic issue, but it's a serious legal issue. You know? So, yeah.
Even at the university here, you can be fined and you can be asked to leave the university here.
Yeah, I don't think you get any more exams or anything like that. Right? So that's another instance. And then they have another case, Tiwa and the NCRHA, which is like a social media case. So again, it's like a situation where the person would have posted something on social media, it was defamatory, and they went to court and they win some money. So again, do not make defamatory.
Those defamatory statements. I think we don't take it serious enough in the Caribbean, hence the reason why the issue continues to persist. And persons continue to be outrightly disrespectful towards our public servants, is what I should say. Yeah.
I mean, it could be.
There's a difference. Let me say that too. There's a difference between holding persons accountable and outrightly defaming them.
Right.
Learn the difference and know the difference.
Yeah, because if you criticize somebody, but not in a defamatory way. And this kind of gets into my next point, right? What do you think about censorship?
As it relates
to social media or even in different sort of media like movies.
Censorship as it relates to what in particular?
Like in terms of speech, so it's like, you know how there are certain things on TikTok, like TikTok have certain community standards and Instagram have community standards. And oftentimes people say that, you know, a post was removed and it's been removed for like it's been censored. Do you think that it's like that censorship is important, number one? And is it overly used to prevent people from actually speaking on social media?
I don't think it's overly used as a necessary precaution, because you see, I don't think it's
if it's important,
right?
And if it's overused.
Right. I don't think it's overused. I feel like it's a necessary precaution, because especially for like these social media organizations, they don't want to have to argue to say we are not like allowing this platform to be used for defamatory stuff and that kind of. So it's like a safeguard to themselves as well. They don't want it to come across as okay, all we know for is this, because they can be held liable as well if they are facilitating this.
Interesting.
Right.
Interesting.
In terms of social media, one aspect that I do like about it is that if you see certain things on social media, you can actually report it.
Right.
Now, I myself have seen things that I have reported. Like, for instance, it had this, you know what, I wouldn't even say the name of the page, but it had a certain page on Instagram, basically dragging, in local terms, dragging young girls and so forth, right? And and my young they actually posted my younger sister on that page, and that was so distasteful and disgusting, because at the end of the day, my young sister don't do that things. And like, I know people might say, well, how you know that? We know that. Right? We know, because you know, people always know people, and somebody else know your mother, and somebody else know your sister. My family, we know people, right? So if it was like that, yeah. Even if it was any other way, you cannot be like dragging persons on social media that could seriously injure an individual's reputation, especially when they are so young in age. Because look, to bring back up the situation with the Honorable Stuart Young from 33 years ago. 33 years ago, that's before I born. Like what? So I would have gone the further step by actually reporting the page and probably going and look for other pages and reporting that page too. If I see something that is basically bullying, I am going to report it. End that discussion.
And this is the thing about it, because social media is often used as a tool for bullying other people, and it sometimes get out of hand. So it's like, I understand censorship in that way to protect certain individuals, but I find as though it is just be overused in a sense. I find as though everything in like some situations just be like, okay, because I don't like what you're saying. So it's like it just becomes a situation where people cannot express their opinions, you know, and the importance of freedom of speech is to share your opinion, however right or wrong it may be, to share your opinion on any sort of medium or platform without being, I mean, yeah, you could be criticized for it. But, you know, just because it's share an opinion doesn't mean that it has to be removed. Or, you know, you need to be forced into making an apology for making the statement that you make. You know?
Yeah.
So I understand what they're saying in terms of censorship. I find that's...
I think what we need to do is, you see all them the propaganda on social media, because if all you realize it have certain things that have been and is currently being pushed on social media. There are certain propagandas. I'll say
Propaganda.
Yeah. It has certain propagandas that is pushed out on social media that does make the country at large look bad too.
Like
That's just it.
like
I understand.
You know.
no, I don't know what you're talking about.
I don't know either.
I want to know. Like what?
Like for instance, it had the whole issue with Trump and Trinidad and Tobago. So basically, he don't want us to hire Cuban doctors. Like what this man have against Cuba so bad?
Yeah.
So now he's basically painting our country in a bad light, I would say. Because at the end of the day, well, our past prime minister would have stated and so forth, you know, these persons are hired, they are paid, it's not like, you know, they're illegal or anything like that. So
And this kind of gets to the next...
One more thing. As a country, we have to protect our sovereignty. So you say what you
This
want
is
to
the next thing,
say,
right? So it's like opinions. As I now say, people have the right and the ability to express their opinions, however right or wrong it may be. Do you all think that freedom of speech should also curtail situations, or entail situations, where people give false opinions on different matters?
It does. It depends. It does. You can't say what you want. You can be like, it's ugly, or you can be like, something, But okay, but I'm not actually saying you're ugly.
You cannot make a better example though.
My bad.
But anyhow, some people would disagree with that statement.
Exactly. I got nothing to say, but anyhow, right? So yeah, you can see that Stevenson ugly, right? You can say Stevenson ugly. But like is how you do things.
So if you say Wesley, sorry, no, you have to do it to me.
What Stevenson ugly?
What?
I remember that.
Make a statement.
What statement? Go ahead. I made a statement.
Right, but you was going to say something
It's
after
how
that.
you say that.
How you say that. Find out a way that might.
But say in a palatable way.
I'm like, okay, so I said Stevenson has become a politician or whatever, right? And at that point in time, he holds this position, so he has some greater influence in society. He has a better reputation, right? Something that can be damaged for him. Not saying anything about reputation. At that stage, it will be higher, right? It can have more implications. So let's say at that stage, I'm like, Stevenson, you're not just ugly, but
In addition to being ugly, go ahead.
right?
As an old thief.
You're not just ugly, but you have been stealing money from the parliament, whatever, the 2 million that was missing.
There have been no, but that the way in which you say that, you can still be liable. There have been, you can say, like, there have been some misappropriation of funds under the leadership of Mr. Stevenson.
It could be indeed him, but we are not sure. You know, so you're adding things to that make it definitive.
Misappropriation
in
of
addition to
funds.
being ugly,
You're stealing money.
well, I allegedly. That's what you're listen to. It's alleged.
No, watch how these people are talking.
It is alleged that I posted misappropriate for anything else I want to trade. Going once, going twice. Anything else?
He has also been having a lot of sexual encounters with other members of the parliament. Possibly, we're not fully sure, but he has a history of having a roster.
No, he can get it as a journalist. You will get in trouble for that. Because you're not, as a journalist, he will get in trouble for that. Because he's not only damaging the reputation of Mr. Stevenson's Senate, but he's also damaging the reputable image and personality of other members.
I just want to hear the part where he says it is alleged. Because he ain't had that part as
oh, my bad, it is alleged.
Okay.
But he can get in trouble for that too. Because in defamatory person, his character and other members' characters.
And I think if
just be careful.
if you say it to someone and they believe it to be true, so like it has certain things where like if someone is privy to like certain information and you say something that because they're privy to other information that they can't believe it to be true, it will be classified as
yeah. So yeah, but those are opinions at the So those are the opinions. So I think that when people give certain opinions, I believe that you should be able to express your opinions freely. I just feel as though there's certain, again, it's the way how you would say certain things, right? So if I give my opinion, for example, well, a lot of things that people like to say is like Venezuelans, for example. Venezuelans are nasty. They take away jobs from Trinidadians and all these different nasty, bad things like to say about Venezuelans. And even though it's an opinion, I just feel as though, yes, it's an opinion, but my problem is when other people start to believe in it as true, and when other people start to take it on, and then cause, like, bully or harass other people.
The thing is, remember, if we go back to the definition of defamation, it's an untrue statement of fact. So if I'm giving an opinion, it will not be considered as a factual statement unless
I'm not talking about defamation, I'm just talking about strictly the sense of opinion.
So if you present the opinion in a way that is a statement of fact, yeah, you can do that. So it's how you put it.
That's true.
How you put it.
But I really hate that when some people give some really bad opinions online, you know?
Yeah.
So,
but I agree with it.
So, in terms, this is like the last thing, right? And then they wouldn't have to see us again until fine. Do you all think that freedom of speech, or rather that defamation, should not be as strict when it comes to freedom of speech? Do you all think that there are just some things that people have to say about somebody else to give their points across? And they should not be liable for it?
No.
No.
Because, again, there are ways you can see things to bring across something in a perfect way and get your idea across without being deformed.
Correct, it's right.
Without being deformed. Yeah.
Because I said this in a previous episode, your rights could only go so far. Your rights cannot be infringing upon someone else's rights. So you will be like, oh, I have freedom. I have freedom of this, freedom of speech, freedom of movement. But as soon as they reach that part where it is infringing upon other person's rights, it is infringing on public peace.
Look at why you have to bring on somebody to get your points across.
No, because the reason why I say that is because you often see politicians especially, right? So let's say, for example, the retired Dr. Rowley and the opposition leader, Mrs. Campbell. Oftentimes they'll have like public spots, as we call PCOM, and I just feel as though it'll just take it too long.
You know, the other day, I mean, this is out in public, so I could say it. So it's on social media. It's there already. So she made a statement where she said something about young African. No, not that one. About young African men or something along the lines of young African men.
Yeah.
I was like, what? And then she comes to say, oh, this is not about race. from your opening statement, you have made it about race. So how could you say something and then come back and say this is not about race? Right? Now, as a politician, you could have approached it as our young people of Trinidad and Tobago are being harmed by gang violence, gun violence, and so forth. Right? So don't say something and then come back to say it is not about race. Right? These wrongs, this generation, we are not focused on the race thing.
And
the race thing has long past.
And this is why, as politicians and adults, we as adults, because we are adults, we have to watch what we say and how we say things. Right?
Correct, that's right.
So, guys, with that being said, we have come to the end of another episode.
Watch what you say.
Watch what you say and who you say it to, especially. Because if I say it,
and where you say it.
And I'm gonna get into that. But yeah, so we thank you all for loving us, for staying with us, for being with us. This is like a marriage. You have no choice to be with us.
Yeah, but
what?
They don't have a choice.
Yeah, they have a choice.
They don't have a choice. They have
a choice in everything.
No, there's no choice. This is a permanent decision. So you have made a permanent decision to follow us. You have made a permanent decision to be with us and stay with us until the end. This is till death do us part.
In sickness and in health.
And in sickness and in health. Or in sickness or when we just don't come. So our next episode will be even spicier. Maybe not as educational, but maybe as spicy. For sure. Like, share, subscribe, comment our content. And it was nice. On to the next.